Hello, beautiful friends, and welcome to Elemental Connections, where we're having conversations and sharing stories about nature and the unseen realms. And today we're really blessed to have Bridget Nielsen here to share her experiences, and we're just going to flow with our conversation and see what arises. So thank you so much, Bridget, for being up for chatting today.
Oh yeah, thanks so much for having me. I just love being in your realm, in your world. I'm like, hee, like it fulfills that part of me that is unexpressed sometimes when I'm not in England.
Excellent. So you, a little bit about you. You're mostly known for kind of ET, connecting with ET realms and the hybrid children projects and that kind of thing. Would you say yep?
Yes.
And the reason why I felt really drawn to have you here is that you're also really grounded and rooted in earth, and I feel that you're very elemental. I think in your way you're very multidimensional and open and connected to all the realms. So I just felt really strongly guided to ask you to come and chat a little bit.
It's exciting. Yeah, they're fun things to explore.
All these many different realms.
Mm-hmm.
So before we started recording, I was just saying to Bridget about how I really wanted to bring through the experience for ourselves of connecting to earth and the beings that are here. So rather than always looking out to connect with beings such as the ETs and angels and ascended masters and whatever else, it's often a sort of out there experience. And so I'd really like to dive into talking about connecting with the earth and connecting with just being rooted here. So maybe you could share a little bit about your experience of nature and any elemental connections that you have or that you have had.
Yeah, I mean, my connection with Earth is as profound as any connection with any other star system or planet. I mean, it's like, this is an amazing planet. It's an amazing realm. And I think that part of it, like, as I've been thinking about this topic for the past week or so, it's this transition between, like, for some reason when we feel like ungrounded or not wanting to be on Earth, it's not really Earth. It's really like the culture that has been created in like those frequencies. And so I think differentiating those two and saying like, no, actually Earth is awesome. And I think that we can say, like, especially with you and your tribe and kind of like the elemental beautiful women that come out of like your region of the world, like England and stuff, there really is, I swear you guys are like sprouted out from like wildflowers over there. But there is something, like, I think you guys can attest for this, and that's why you're doing this channel, of like really that even being a very higher frequency being that's not of this realm in a way, Earth is very safe. Like, and Earth is very nutritive, and it's really just sometimes the culture that isn't. And so just kind of, I think, letting those two things become a little bit more separate so that we can really engage with the Earth and receive what she has to offer.
Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? And I think, like, for me, the daily practice of rooting in to the earth and like connecting inward and down and opening upward as well, but connecting into what's true rather than the media and what we're shown society is. And that's a big part of why I'm, like you say, why I'm doing this. It's like bringing people's awareness into that there's something else that you can plug into that is as entertaining. And I mean, and that's part with the elementals, like it's an entertaining realm, it's full of love and it's full of wisdom, and it's a great place to hang out.
It really is. Like, there's so much to explore, and I think it's that idea of going from like the macro, like the like out there, like you were saying, to like the micro, where even if you think of like a lens, you know, and those little like micro, or I think they're still called macro lenses, but the ones where you can zoom in really close to like the flowers and like you see the world that exists in just like the grass or like a flower or like a tree. And I think setting aside that deep time to go like get lost and like return in a way to like the maiden archetype, that was the little girl that would just like go pick wildflowers and just get lost for hours. And that is, I think, a level of like consciousness and like mindlessness and like imagination that is, I think, critical to this next stage of where we need to go, like as a humanity. I think a lot of the answers are just like right there in that unabashed like freedom and play.
Yeah, and it's like, and as you're talking, I'm seeing you going to like sacred sites and portals and stuff, and it's like you have to plug into Earth to go to these other realms as well, isn't it? So like it's like bringing it right back into these tiny spaces or big spaces in order to explore.
Totally. And I think that's like, that's where the star portals are. Like it's counterintuitive because you're like, what? I have to go into that like hole, or I have to go into that like stone circle or that cave or something to like go to Venus? What? You know, and it seems counterintuitive, but you know, and Mara, who you just interviewed, I mean, like we talk about it all the time, that the portals to other dimensions, to higher dimensions, to inner earth, to like the cosmos, like exist in these sacred places that are high. Like they're a different dimension, like they're a different reality. And I think that's part of it too, is some people haven't experienced it, and I think more people are, as like I'm in the US, so like people are really starting to tap into like Mount Shasta and Sedona, or in like, you know, Glastonbury, Avery, like, you know, people are starting to see that Earth does have its capacities to hold these fifth dimensional frequencies. And I think it's just that exposure, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, like a place on Earth like this does exist, and I could like live here, or I could visit frequently and like attune to that. And I think that is an awareness that is really like exciting. And I'm seeing a lot of people open up to like their greater like sensory and feel more connected and comfortable with Earth in connecting with these sacred places.
Yeah, absolutely. I get in this sense again as you're talking, and it's like you can go there and have that open experience, and then you can bring it back into your own reality, and you can begin to open like your own, it's like your own portals into these other realms as well, just in your own space, or in your local parks, or you know, like or in the wild. But yeah, it's available. Like we can shift into these other realms.
Yes, it's true.
Inviting us to be there.
Yeah, and bringing it, I like the idea of bringing it back to our home space, because I was just in Asheville, North Carolina, and it's like this, it's surrounded by crystal mountains. So like the whole thing is surrounded, and it's like one of the most, I think, sacred places actually on Earth. And it's kind of used more by like the US government and stuff. And so it has this whole thing to it. But even like cities, or even like certain towns, they're put in these places oftentimes because they are on ley lines, or oftentimes because they do have like a sacred history behind them. And so even if it is somewhere that seems like mundane, it's like, no, there probably was something there.
Yeah.
Something going on.
Definitely was here. I think that in the town that I live in, there was a big stone circle, I'm sure, and I think the stones are scattered around now. I think it was called Goldstone. One of them was like a big goldstone or something. Yeah, they're everywhere, aren't they? I mean, if you find a church, then you're on a ley line, and
Exactly.
most places have churches and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, so what about your experiences with the elemental realms and fairies and stuff? I'd love to hear maybe a little bit of your own journey and stories, and anything that arises.
Yeah, I've always had like a deep connection with the elemental realms, with the fairies, you know, of course. And there were many a times, like, I mean, my whole like early childhood was just steeped in me being in nature and like being with them. And there's a lot of like mystery to it too, where like there's this hole in my backyard, like behind the fence where the grass grows tall, where like I would go play for hours. And I'm like, I think there's a lot more happening there than like I can even like remember. And so part of it, I think that there's a direct connection between the elemental connection, the fairy connection, and the child. Like that innocence is what's required as like entry pass to that dimension. And so much of that happened like in my childhood that I can just remember and feel and recall and know like my connections with them and like feel them and sense them. And since then, like in the past few years, I've been really like tapping back in, and like I know, and it's that glimpses where you can kind of like see flickers, and you can begin to see into their dimension. And I think it's one of the first places to begin. Like, I mean, it's like, okay, we want to see aliens. It's like, okay, well, let's start with a fairy, you know, like let's start it there. And there is something about that purity, I think, that opens that gate, and it's a perfect first entry point to connecting with the unseen, making the unseen realm seen. And one of my favorite experiences was on Mount Shasta in this place called Panther Meadows, and it's hyper elemental and so magical. And I was there, and I was sitting, and I could feel the fairies, and it was like almost to that place that if I could really lose myself, that it would manifest. And it's one of those things about taking time to do it. Like, okay, I'm gonna have 3 days here where I lay in the meadow, you know. And it's like I actually realized I need to plan in that kind of time. But one of our friends we met on the top of Mount Shasta this day said, we went to dinner with him that night, and he was like, you know where you were sitting? And I was like, yes. He's like, I physically fully saw the fairies, like right there. And he had pictures of them. And I'll actually send you the picture of them that you can see that. Yeah. But full on, like he had tapped that, like he had fully been able to enter that realm and like physically see them manifest, and then physically bring them back, like through taking pictures. And it's not one of those like, oh, it's a lens flare situation. I mean, it's like a full on fairy forms. And it was so magical to be so close to that, you know, dimension opening, because it's like I feel them, I sense them, but it's like to fully go into it, I think, is the next step for all of us.
Yeah. My first guest, she said that she's seen them physically as well. And that's a step beyond for me, but it's just like, yeah, that's really incredible. And you've got a video. Is it what you have a video of the streams and what's it called?
Yes. Yeah, in Panther Meadows. Yeah.
You can just feel, well, I can feel that difference. It's like a different frequency, isn't it? It's a different, like somebody was saying, they're not in another dimension, they're still in the same dimension as us, they're just a different frequency. And when you drop into that frequency, then you begin to, you can just feel it. It's that magical quality, isn't it? It's like kind of aliveness.
It is, and it's that difference between like where it's nature alive talking to you. You're like, this is a different, like you know, kind of like civilization, or like a different, you know, kind of being that like you're like, whoa, like I can feel them. And there's been, actually, I've had experiences with Mara in the Pacific Northwest where we're like walking on these very magical mountains, like no one really goes up there, and we could sense them and we could feel them. And at one point, it was so funny, like you can, and a lot of time it physically manifests, like you can even see the bark, you know, have faces in them, and you can see where they can like actually, like it looks like a house, and you start to see truly like that they are there. And we sensed that they were there, and I started to like walk into their zone. And they started to get like, they like sound the alarms. They're like, what? Human? Like, it's like no one had seen them for so long that even though we like came in peace, they just were like so alarmed that we could see into their dimension. So we spent like 15 minutes just being like, we come in peace, we just want to acknowledge you, and like this whole thing. And there was this whole interaction that was like going on telepathically, energetically. And so yeah, it's fun to just start like acknowledging that you see it, and then you'll get a response. I think that's one of the best ways.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice thing to share, so people can actually know that they can have that experience as well.
Oh yeah, I mean anyone can have this.
For a few people or something, it's like this is an invitation going out for everybody. And I love what you shared about being able to see the faces and the like the little houses and stuff. And once your eyes start to attune to that, you begin to sort of see it everywhere. And it's to really trust that that's real, and that it's not just the imagination. Or I think there's a level where the imagination is real.
Yes.
It's like the imagination is like a portal into that realm as well.
Yeah, the imagination is what begins to animate it.
Yeah.
Into life, you know, and it takes that, and there is a level of trust and surrender, and it's like, and I think that's why I love like these realms so much, is because it's so like, it's so safe and innocent, you know, because like just to believe and to like go there like in the forest only brings you like more joy and like more like connection. And it's like, if you believe, you know, say like in an alien or like this other being, it can have repercussions of like, oh, then it determines, you know, your life course and your destiny. And like it can have like, I don't know, it has more of a discerning quality that's needed. Whereas I feel like in nature and with a lot of these different beings, it's a bit like, it's a safer playing ground. And I think that's why it's so associated with children, is because anyone can do it. And by believing, by trusting, by going into it, there's kind of in a way like no harm that can come.
Yeah. And actually, because you can only access it really when you're in that heart space. Once you're in that heart space, and you're only going to attract like that heart experience.
Absolutely.
So your experience when you were sending like the messages that you came in peace, did they receive that after a while? They
did they definitely like had their boundaries, whereas like some don't. And I think that's where like the protocol of like truly when entering any kind of like earth space, like giving an offering, you know, and an offering to whatever like tradition or resonance feels good to you. So in like Native American, it could be like tobacco or sage. And like in your neck of the woods, it could be just like flowers as an offering, whatever it is, to the nature spirits, and to just that physical offering of saying like, I acknowledge you exist and you are real. And like, I am honored to step into your space. And that, in that, like, I can see the magic that opens. And even a few days ago, I was in this space and I gave an offering when I was staying at this cabin at this Airbnb. And I gave the offering, you know, for the night. And I had this like profound, you know, connective dream. And the next morning, Patrick, my boyfriend, was like, I think it's because you gave the offering, and that the elementals actually allowed passage into these like higher realms during dream time. And they were your allies, rather than like, are they going to chop down the forest? You know, are they going to like, because there is this like, I think a little bit of an like resistance to humans in a way that we've interacted with them in the past. And so if they of course can feel just your energy. So it's like, okay, I come in peace. But then the additional physical offering makes it like really, I think, safe for them to commune, because they want to, and they want to like assist and play in those ways.
Yeah. I really like that you shared that, because it seems to be a bit of a thread that's coming through these interviews about giving offerings. So it seems like it's an important message that wants to come through. And I think like we take so much from the land, and we're not recognizing, we're not sort of giving back, we're just sort of taking.
Yeah.
So I think it is a really wonderful way of opening that connection and saying that we're here to help and to have fun and to open those connections.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And taking those moments, you know, because so many times I think that's part of it is I can be like walking through the forest and then like be like, oh, I'm here, like thank you so much for having me, you know, but you're already like you're already walking, you're already going, you're already like active in it. But to like to stop and to like enter the space with like consciousness and awareness, I think just that shifts like our consciousness and energy to open it, and then the physicalization. So I think it's really about just taking the time. I think that's one of the big themes that has come in any time that I have had kind of like gone to like this super balanced, dreamy like mind space is getting lost in time. And I think that's one of the keys to time, like travel and timelessness and entering these other realms, and especially where in so much of the lore of like the fae and the fairies and stuff, that you can enter their dimension and like have in a way like immortality and like come back out into the earth realm, and like earth has like, you know, aged and all this stuff, but there is like this eternal youth. So I think part of it is getting lost in the timeless nature of it, to where you stay in that space of like fertile innocence and wonder.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly, I feel like that's been my kind of experience since I've opening these realms. It feels like I kind of stay in that space more and more. And it's, yeah, like it's not that you enter into another realm and you disappear, but your experience in your life, you stay in a different vibration, isn't it? It's a different it's almost a different expression of being human,
Definitely.
when we connect in with them. It really,
Definitely.
yeah, yeah, really beautiful. Ah, so I wonder if there's anything, is there anything else you feel that you'd like to share around connecting with them or your experiences?
I think one thing that's kind of like up is the idea of like, because when you were just saying that, like it changes like who we are. Um, for instance, like when we exercise versus don't exercise, like the version of us that exercises versus the version of us that doesn't, turns on different genetics, turns on different epigenetics, like to where you are a literally different person if you exercise versus not exercise. And so when you said that, and it was like, oh, it makes you a different person to engage, you know, into the nature realms, into these states of consciousness. It was like, it does. Like I had that same thought. It was like, I think that it really activates different genetics and makes you a different person. And so I think that's part of it. And there's something about like the organic, just geometries that reset and rebalance us in ways beyond really comprehension, to just be in nature and to make that a dedication. Whereas in where we're at with like 90-degree angles and lots of like metals and plastics and synthetics like around us in daily life, those we're limited to that dimension. It like holds us in the dimension. And so I think just kind of like you take your vitamins, being like, I need to take new geometries, like I need to take, you know, like these curves and this flow, and be in the different elements, like be with the water, be with the fire. And I think looking at it as an energetic supplement and like an energetic soul necessity is just something that I see for myself, and I see when I'm with other people and we're in that space. It's like, wow, that version of ourselves that like went and hiked that mountain and we're outside all day is very different than the next day when we were driving around the city and doing something else. And so just kind of really keeping that in check and choosing more of that smooth, curvaceous flow for what we want.
Yeah, nice. And sometimes it can only, like yesterday for me, I was working on some jewelry and I just was getting to the point, things just weren't quite flowing. And I could hear the sea. It was like calling me. And I ended up just taking half an hour on the beach, and just that, like it reset me. It did something. Like I received, like you say, those, I love the way you describe it as geometries. That's a really beautiful way of describing it. And the more I connect in with the elemental realms, I notice my work with geometry starts to come back again as well. I very much feel the elementals, maybe not like necessarily fairies, but elementals as in just the consciousness of nature.
Yeah.
Very much with geometry. It likes to create harmony as much as possible. So the more we go into nature, the more we're resetting our geometry back into a harmonious structure. That's my experience. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree.
So I think when things are going wrong, just go and take some time out.
Exactly.
Reset.
Yeah. Yeah, we're told it so much. We just like don't do it. You know, it's like take a break, go sit in the sun, have a cup of tea or something, and it's like, no, I'm gonna keep going, you know.
And when we do it, to like really just to be conscious of nature around us, so we can just be in town and connect to the sun, and you're connecting to so much. There's so much beauty to be connecting with all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So do you think that you that working with nature has affected like all your other work? Do you think?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can significantly say that turning on like my higher capacities, turning on my extrasensory capacities has completely come by immersion in nature. A lot of my like more profound ET experiences and memories has come from being in nature and in sacred sites, and dedicating myself to those energies and those frequencies and that connection. I think is I wouldn't be able to do everything that I've been doing and have the inspiration that I brought through. It would just like, I'd be a different person. So yeah, I think it's one of the single most important things that has helped influence myself and kept me really like excited to be here too. Hey kitty. Yeah, it keeps me excited to be on Earth, you know, because like we can get so jaded like so easily, and it's like, well, but if you have that relationship with nature and with Earth, then it's a lot more comfortable, and those experiences of like just wanting to check out just don't happen as much.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
That feels like such a good message to share.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for bringing that through.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you so much for chatting and bringing through all this yumminess.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, it's like, it's so funny because I think there are certain places on Earth that have higher elemental capacities, and that's why, like, we talk, anyone that thinks about fairies, you know, or like leprechauns or these elves or something, they're like, they instantly think of like England and Ireland and Scotland and stuff, and it's like, that's because they're there. That's because like it's still intact. Like for some reason it hasn't been just like clear cut away or like wiped out. And so it's so fun connecting with you because like you bring that, like, it just shows your connection to it, that's what you want to talk about, you know, which it wouldn't necessarily be as big of a conversation in like Southern California or something. So
like I've only just realized that recently because of living here and growing up here. This is just my reality. Like,
yeah,
I kind of didn't know that it was felt less in other areas.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, there's nuances, you know, there's like, there definitely are like desert fairies, like when I was in like Sedona, and different like elemental qualities that have their own magic for sure. But there's something like, just like, whoo, next level about that dimension, you know, because there's certain places that bring through certain things. And it's like, that's just one of the gifts of where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've been drawn here as well, haven't you? You were here last year. You had a trip to Ireland, and then we met in Glastonbury. There was a group of us that met in Glastonbury, which for me, Glastonbury is like, for me personally, it's like the kind of fairy headquarters. I kind of go in there and have like a check-in.
Totally, it totally is. And Yeah, I mean, just that area. I mean, my soul has to have it, like, because there isn't as much of a connection in certain places in America, and so like my whole like upbringing, it was always like whenever I just needed a fix, I would like read a book or like watch a movie about like your land, and I could just like connect in like through that, and I would feel like satiated, for like, a few weeks and stuff. And then I would need more, and then I would need more. And then actually going there, it's just like, yes, like, yes. So it's something very unique. And I'm just like, it's so great that you're there, like, holding the container, having the conversation, and making people aware that it is like a special gifting.
Yeah. So I kind of fascinated by that then. So like, what about places like Oregon? Because I see, like, have you been to Oregon? And
Uh-huh.
like when I see images and it's just these moss covered, like, and it just looks so, to me, like I kind of want to go there. It's really interesting. I feel like, oh, there must be so much magical fairy yumminess.
And there is, I would just say it's like different, it's just like different cultures, right? Like human cultures, it's like different elemental cultures. And
Yeah.
so there's a particular energy to them where it's like, even just that mountain in Washington that Mara and I walked up, it's like, this is a whole group of elemental beings that probably aren't in very other many places on earth. And like, this is like where they are, and like, this is their energy. And so it's like, it is so special and unique, each place, to honor like who they are and like where they're at. And then there is something about the quality for me of like the culture that calls me, because I have had so many like incarnations and connections with the realms over in your neck of the woods, that it's like, oh, like that culture of that particular energy is my fae tribe, is my like elemental tribe that nourishes my cells on a different
Yeah.
area, different level. So
Yeah, so it feels, in a way, do you think it feels more familiar? Is it that kind of like?
it just feels more familiar. Yeah, and it just is like, I just feel at home with it.
Yeah, yeah. When I go to the tour, I just hear this like, welcome home. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is like, there's a part of me that belongs there, or there's a part of me that is always there. I'm not quite sure how it works. When we let go of time being linear, then it's like, I'm there. Like there's part of me that's there all the time, and I'm sure it's probably the same with you as well.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so you're going to be coming this way later in the year? Are you coming to Glastonbury again?
Yep, coming to Glastonbury at the beginning of September, and then going over to Amsterdam, and then the end of September will be over in Spain. So yeah, doing a little tour. See, I need my fix. I need to go over there.
Nice. And what's going to be your themes for them?
The themes for Glastonbury, it's similar to last year, but it's like connecting to like the divine expression within our own selves, and then connecting in with the elementals and like the water spirits and energies. So just receiving whatever, as you know, it has to offer, and like the group has to offer. And then in Amsterdam, it is more like hybrid children, star family connections, just like going deep into the cosmos. And then in Spain, it's the UFO World's Congress. And so it's like, I'm just speaking on like a panel, with different speakers and stuff. So that's just going to be super alien too.
Excellent. I love that. So actually, are you going to Glastonbury first?
Yeah.
You're going and getting your grounding first.
Yeah, I'm going into my like energetic grounding. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go straight there, and then I'm gonna go by myself to Scotland and then even probably to France to like be in the Magdalene spots.
Oh yes.
So I'm gonna like go dive in and like experience these new energies. So I'll see what that's like too.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I will leave a link to your website underneath the video so people can go and check out everything that you have to offer.
That sounds great.
Yeah. So before we finish, anything else you'd like to share? Anything else that's coming up or for you? Or?
No, I just like want to like dive in through your like computer screen and like go walk outside with you. Like I'm like I can feel it, you know. So no, but just thank you, yeah, so much for the conversation. It's one that is so important to have.
Oh, I'm so honoured that you were up for being part of it. So thank you so much.
For sure. Yay.
Okay, thank you everybody who's watched, and sending you so much love and inviting you to get out in nature and drop into your hearts, drop into your feet, make your offerings, make your connections, and have some fun.
Yes.
See you again.
Yes.
Thanks for watching.